Back to our channel. Now we are going to start radius anatomy. So radius is actually a bone of forearm, that to the lateral bone. So lateral side means towards the thumb. So always remember, it's easy to say where the radius is. It's always along the thumb side. So wherever the thumb is in your hand, so that side will be the radius. For example, you can see this is the thumb side, so radius is here. So this is a radius bone. It's a lateral bone of forearm, and it's mainly homologous with the tibia of lower limb. If you see the tibia of the lower limb, it is also a lateral bone, so it's homologous with the radius in the upper limb. So coming to the upper end, so actually the radius we were going to study its anatomy by dividing it into upper end, shaft and lower end. So it's very easy to study like that. So let's start. So first we'll start with the upper end. If you see the upper end, it has a head. So this one is a head, and the head is mainly disc shaped and is covered by hyaline cartilage. It's covered by hyaline cartilage. Disc shape, you can see it clearly, it's a disc like structure, and superiorly it is having a concave surface. So actually here you can't say in the real bone it will be very much visible. It will be concave. Concave means cave like structure. So it will be a concave structure on superior aspect. And why it is concave? To articulate with the capitulum. Capitulum, of the humerus. Capitulum is present laterally, right? So to that lateral side of capitulum, this head superior surface, concave surface of the radius gets articulated. And also here we have the side, this disc side, you can see here it has also articular surface with the notch, the radial notch which is present in the ulna. You can see this is ulna bone. In the ulna bone also there is a radial notch. Why radial notch? For the attachment of radius bone. So that is how the head is having two joints. One is with capitulum, that is elbow joint, and other with the ulna, that is forming superior radioulnar joint. So like this we have two joints in the upper end. So especially this superior radioulnar joint is formed by the circumference. The circumference of head means this outer line circumference will form, whereas the superior concave surface with the capitulum will form the elbow joint. Now we will look at the neck. If you see, the neck is somewhat constricted and it's enclosed by narrow lower margin of annular ligament. Actually here the annular ligament will be enclosing it to hold it, right? So around the neck there will be a lower margin of annular ligament. Head and neck. If you see the head and neck, they are free from capsular attachments and can rotate freely with the socket, even though there is annular ligament around it, but it's not a capsular ligament like either elbow joint's capsular ligament or this radioulnar joint, superior radioulnar joint capsular ligament is absent around the head and neck, so they can easily move. So now coming to the shaft. So that's it. That is about one more thing, in the upper end you also have the radial tuberosity. So what is the radial tuberosity? If you see some part of it like this swelling, this is the radial tuberosity. It is just below the medial part of neck. So medial part of the neck, first we will mention it medial or lateral. So if you see, this is a radius bone, right? So this side, always remember where there is, this is called as interosseous membrane. So where there is interosseous membrane or where it is side of the ulna, that side is medial end, and the opposite side is a lateral end. So what we are saying now, the radial tuberosity is just below the medial part of neck. So if you see the neck, it's medial part, this is the radial tuberosity, and it is also going to the posterior part and smooth anterior part. So actually it has posterior part and anterior part. So this is anterior surface of radius, but you can see here. So here in this diagram you can see the posterior aspect of radius. The posterior aspect, you can see the radial tuberosity more prominent. It's more prominent posterior side, but it's smooth. It's rough in the posterior side, whereas it's smooth in the anterior side. You can see it's smooth in the anterior side. So by this we have completed our upper end. So very simple. Upper end have head, neck, and radial tuberosity. So about its relations we have seen. Above it forms superior radioulnar joint with the side radial notch present in the ulna, and above, especially in concave surface, articulate with the capitulum of humerus and form the elbow joint. So that is about that. And radial tuberosity, it's present medially in the radius. In the anterior surface it's somewhat smooth, but in the posterior surface it's rough. So by this we complete the head part. Now we'll move on to the shaft part. So coming to the shaft of the radius, if you see, it is having 3 borders and 3 surfaces. So let us check out what are its borders and surfaces. So first we'll start with the anterior border. So if you see, anterior border is nothing but this one anteriorly, which you see, that is the anterior border. The anterior border mainly extends from the anterior margin of radial tuberosity, means from the radial tuberosity to the styloid process. The styloid process is present laterally. So if you see, this is the styloid process. So from here till here, this is the styloid process. Always remember, styloid process is lateral, right? So from the margin of radial tuberosity to the lateral process of styloid process, this is all called as anterior border of the radius or anterior margin of the radius, right? So actually this is in turn divided into 2 parts, that is upper half and lower half. If you see the upper half, it's mainly oblique in nature, so it's called anterior oblique line, whereas the lower half is called vertical part, which is crest like. So lower half is crest like vertical and upper part is oblique with an anterior oblique line. So next, coming to the posterior border. If you see the posterior border, it's just like a mirror image. It's a mirror image to the anterior border. There's not much difference. Just same like, but you know, the posterior border is somewhat clearly defined in the middle 1/3, and the upper part is there called as posterior oblique line. So I'll show you the posterior side of the radius. So if you see, this is the posterior side. It's like a mirror image to the anterior side, but the only difference which you find is the middle part is mainly somewhat more prominent when compared with the anterior middle part of the radius. So now we will discuss about the medial side or the medial border. So coming to the medial border, it's also called as interosseous border. You know this one, this medial border. This is also called as interosseous border. It's the sharpest border. If you see in the bone, you can clearly appreciate that it's sharpest and is. So this medial border actually extends from the radial tuberosity, right, to the posterior margin of ulnar notch. Radial tuberosity to posterior margin of ulnar notch. Actually you have a ulnar notch over here for the articulation with ulna to form inferior radioulnar joint, right? So here will be the ulnar notch posteriorly, but posteriorly I'll show you in the posterior side. So if you come into the posterior side, so here will be the ulnar notch posteriorly. And talking about this interosseous membrane, it's actually in the lower 3/4 or like lower 3/4, yeah, not in the upper side. If you see, it's just like a strip here that is called as oblique cord, but most of it is in the lower 3/4. Now coming to the lower part, yeah, we are done with our head, we are done with our shaft. Now coming to the lower part forms a posterior margin of elongated triangular area. It forms a posterior margin of elongated triangular area. Actually it's a triangular area. In the front you have only laterally styloid process, and medially of course you will also have the ulnar notch, but posteriorly the structures are more clearable. If you see, the posteriorly you will have a dorsal tubercle, and you will also have a styloid process and some ridges which are forming grooves. So all those will be structured mainly in the lower end. So now we discuss about the surfaces. So anterior surface, if you see the anterior surface, it's mainly between the anterior and interosseous border, right? This is the anterior interosseous border. So between anterior and interosseous border you have the anterior surface, and which is, you also find here the nutrient foramen open into the upper part. Nutrient artery is a branch of anterior interosseous artery. That thing you need to remember. Next, coming to the posterior surface, posterior surface, if you see here, the posterior surface is nothing but between the posterior and interosseous border, nothing but posterior and interosseous border. And next, coming to the lateral surface. So as I said, this is the lateral surface, right? So lateral surface is between the anterior and posterior border. So just like, it's very easy to understand, it's not so important. Now coming to the lower end is the widest part, right, widest part of the bone, and it's having 5 surfaces. Anterior, which is thick prominent ridge, and radial artery is palpated mainly here in the anterior surface. Next, coming to posterior surface, it has 4 grooves for extensor tendons. So you can see the posterior surface have 4 grooves, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4 grooves are in the posterior surface mainly for the extensor tendons, and dorsal tubercle of Leicester lie lateral to oblique groove. So this is called as dorsal tubercular fissure, which mainly lies lateral to the oblique line, right? And next you have the medial surface. Medial surface is having ulnar notch, already discussed, for the head of the ulna, and lateral surface is prolonged downward to form the styloid process. So next, coming to the inferior area, it's triangular area for the scaphoid bone and medial quadrangular area. I'll show here. If you see, this is the inferior surface of the radius. It's having a triangular area for scaphoid bone. You can see here the triangular area for scaphoid bone, and it is also having a medial quadrangular area, mainly for the lunate bone. So these are the carpal bones, right? So it is called as radiocarpal joint, also called as bridge joint. One important notice is that the bridge joint is always formed only by the radial bone, not by the ulnar bone, because ulnar bone is somewhat shorter when compared with these carpal bones. So carpal bones and radius joined together form radiocarpal joints, are also called as bridge joint. This is important point. Now coming to its attachments, some particular features. So coming to the attachments, mainly the biceps brachii. Coming to the biceps brachii, it's inserted to the rough posterior radial tuberosity. Already I said the radial tuberosity, right? So here the biceps brachii, on the posterior side you can appreciate it very well. So you can see the biceps brachii and the radial tuberosity. So biceps brachii, it's coming from the humerus, right? Where already discussed about humerus. So there it is taking its origin. Biceps brachii is origin from the humerus, and it is inserted into the radial tuberosity of the radius bone, okay, especially to rough posterior part of radial tuberosity. And the anterior part of the radial tuberosity is covered by the biceps brachii bursa. So this is the biceps brachii bursa. Next, coming to supinator. Supinator is also inserted to the upper part of lateral surface. So as I already said, this is the medial surface, this is lateral surface, right? So supinator is inserted to upper part of lateral surface. So upper part of lateral surface is the supinator. This blue color one, if you observe, this is the supinator. Next, coming to the pronator teres. Pronator teres is inserted to middle part of lateral surface. So pronator teres, middle part of lateral surface, right? And next, coming to brachioradialis, is inserted to lower part of lateral surface above styloid process. So here will be the brachioradialis here, just above the styloid process. So how to remember this? Many are asking like how to remember the attachments of radius. Very simple. But first remember the insertions. What are inserted? So first, coming to biceps brachii is inserted to posterior radial tuberosity. We are talking from upper to lower, right? So first we'll talk about head part. In the head you have the radial tuberosity mainly. So in that radial tuberosity, biceps brachii will attach. Next, coming to supinator, pronator teres B. You can remember like SPB single like that, okay? So SPP. These are inserted to the lateral surface of the radius, right? These are also inserted. Next, coming to brachioradialis, it's inserted to the lower part of lateral surface. Yeah, SPB we are done. Next, coming to radial head of flexor digitorum superficialis. Flexor digitorum, in the name you should understand that digits means fingers. It should go to fingers. And also in the name you will see flexor, always flexor are on the anterior side. And another one you get is superficialis. Superficial means anterior, like that you can remember. So flexor digitorum superficialis is origin from the anterior oblique line. So flexor digitorum superficialis, you can see anterior oblique line gives origin to the flexor digitorum superficialis. So till now we have completed insertions. So how to remember insertions? I said first to the head in the radial tuberosity, biceps brachii. Next, SPB on the lateral surface, completed insertions. Now coming to the origin. Origin, first you need to remember flexor digitorum superficialis. Means to the digits it should go, means to the fingers, and superficial. Superficial means like, you can understand, it's like anterior. So it's on the oblique anterior surface of radius, very easy. And next, it's also attached to the upper part of anterior body. Yeah, done. Next, coming to flexor pollicis longus. Always remember pollicis. Pollicis means thumb. So of course it should go to thumb, and it's a long muscle. So it will also present on the anterior surface. Its origin from the upper two-third of anterior surface, like here, upper two-third of anterior surface. You can say flexor pollicis longus. It should go to the thumb. Next, coming to pronator quadratus. Pronation. Pronator means this muscle is useful for pronation. Pronation means here like this, right? This is supination, right? Pronation means you need to do like this. So to do like this, you see mainly the pronator quadratus should present on the supinator side, so that only can pronate to the opposite side. So like that you can remember, like opposite, pronator quadratus is inserted to lower part of anterior surface. So in this diagram you can see the pronator quadratus. So it attached to the lower part of anterior surface, right? Lower part of anterior surface and into the triangular area on the medial side of lower end. So this is the medial side, right? Sorry, this is ulna. This is radius, right? So pronator quadratus will be attached to this lower end of radius, right? The two lower part into the triangular area of medial side of lower end. And radial artery is palpated as radial pulse as it lies medial to the sharp anterior border of radius, lateral to tendon of flexor carpi radialis. Lateral to tendon of, here will be the tendon of flexor carpi radialis. So next we will discuss about abductor pollicis longus. So here also the name you can see abductor, right? Abducting means to move the finger like this. So this is adduction. Pollicis, right? No means we are talking about thumb. So this is adduction of thumb. This is abduction. So abduction of the thumb, need abductor pollicis longus. And also we have extensor pollicis, to extend the thumb. Flexion of the thumb, extension of the thumb. So for the extension of the thumb also I need extensor pollicis brevis. So all these muscles are arising from the posterior surface. Now you can see the posterior surface of the radius here. So this is abductor pollicis longus and also you have the extensor pollicis brevis. So both this thumb muscles which are useful for abduction and extension are on the posterior surface of radius. Next coming to quadrate ligament. So quadrate ligament will be attaching over here somewhere. So what is this quadrate ligament? I'll show here. So if you see here, this is the quadrate ligament. Sorry, that's not the quadrate ligament, that's the oblique cord. Oblique cord is attached on the medial side just below the radial tuberosity. So here will be oblique cord attachment, and even the quadrate ligament is attached to medial part of the neck. So next coming to articular capsule of ridge joint, which is attached to anterior and posterior margins of inferior articular surface. So here will be the attachment, you can see attachments of articular disc of mainly the wrist joint. And articular disc of inferior radioulnar joint is attached to lower border of ulnar notch. Yeah, here, lower border of ulnar notch. And extensor retinaculum is attached to lower part of anterior border. Lower part of anterior border will give attachment to extensor retinaculum. That you need to remember. Extensor retinaculum attached to lower part of anterior border, right? Here, somewhere over here. Next coming to interosseous membrane, you know this one in the middle, right? It is attached to lower 3/4 of interosseous border. So once again let us revise what are the muscles which are attached. So first we'll talk about insertion. So insertion, I have given a clue for the head. Biceps brachii is attached on radial tuberosity and laterally SPB aretes, that is nothing but supinator. And next you have B for what? Yeah, B for brachioradialis and P for pronatatoris, right? They're all attached to the lateral side of radius, right? For that I drew a clue. And next coming to, I said on anterior side the digitorum superficialis, flexor digitorum, because digits means fingers on superficial. So like that you can remember flexor digitorum superficialis on anterior side. Next you have flexor pollicis longus, that is going for the flexion, and that too to the thumb. So it will be on the anterior side. And it's coming to pronator quadratus. For the pronations you can remember like as opposite side. For supination, on supinator side the pronator is present, so pronator quadratus. Even for this you can like SPB you can create a mnemonic like for example FFP, because both are flexes. Otherwise you can remember like digitorum, right? Digitorum superficialis pollicis, so DPP pronator quadratus, so DPP. And next coming to abductor pollicis. So these are on posterior side, right? Abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis are on posterior side, and quadrate ligament, these are ligaments that is not so important to remember, and oblique, all these are not so important. That's it. By this we completed. So very simple. You remember just the SPB over here, and here the biceps brachii, and next remember the DPP. DPP means digitorum superficialis anterior side, pollicis longus anterior side, And another peak coming to pronator quadratus. All these are anterior side, but on posterior side we have abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis. So very easy. And about articular surface, interosseous membrane, extensor retinaculum. Yeah, this is one more thing which we have. It is also present on anterior surface lower part. So that thing you need to remember. That's it. Very simple. Now we will come to the ossification. So coming to the ossification, if you see, the shaft will ossify from primary center, which appears in the 8th week, and the lower end ossify by secondary center, which appears in first year and fuse at 20 years. So actually the lower end is a growing end of the bone of the radius. When it's coming to upper end, it has head which ossify from secondary center and appear in 4th year, but all fuse by 18 years to the shaft. So by this we completed everything of radius, the particular features, attachments, about osteology, ossification, everything. Now we will move on to the ulna.